The Osborne Internet linked Encyclopedia of Ancient World, pages 34 through 37. The Assyrian Empire. The people we now call Assyrians came from a small area of the fertile banks of the Tigris in northern Mesopotamia. Their capital city was Ashur, named after their chief god Ashur. At times, Assyria was small and weak, but it also became a powerful empire with a fearsome reputation for cruelty and violence. Early years. The early Assyrians were rather unimportant, dominated by the nearby civilizations of Sumer and Akkad, but the collapse of Ur made them independent and they established themselves firmly in northern Mesopotamia. The Amorites. Around 2000 BC, the Amorites, who were earlier conquered Ur, attacked Assyria and became its new rulers. The most famous of them was Sham-Shiadad, who ruled from 1813 to 1776 BC. He conquered the lands around Assyria and built up trade and an empire which covered most of the northern Mesopotamia. Historians usually refer to this period as the First Assyrian Empire. Changing hands. Around 1740 BC, the Babylonians took over and ended the First Assyrian Empire. In the years that followed, the Assyrians were sometimes independent and sometimes ruled by the Babylonians or others. From around 1500 to 1350 BC, the Mitanni took control of the area. At its height, their empire stretched to the Mediterranean, but they were eventually wiped out by the Hittites. A new empire. The Hittites themselves came under attack from the Sea People around 1200 BC. After this, the Assyrians began to regain power. By around 900 BC, they had built up an efficient army, which they sent on raids to demand payment from nearby countries. This kept the borders of Assyria secure and supplied important goods like metal and timber, which the Assyrians did not have in their own lands. It also created a powerful new Assyrian empire, which is often known as the Second or Great Empire. The Assyrian Army. To keep their subjects under control, the Assyrian army inflicted terrible punishments on anyone who rebelled against the empire. Whole cities were razed to the ground, and the ringleaders tortured and killed horribly. Ordinary citizens were made into slaves or carried off to distant parts of the empire where life was very hard. Battle stations. The Assyrian army was divided up into different kinds of soldiers. Foot soldiers might be lightly armed with bows and arrows or slings, or more heavily armed with spears and shields. The cavalry rode horses without saddles or stirrups, or drove chariots with 3 or 4 men to a chariot. Cities and palaces. Ashur was the capital city of Assyria for more than 1,000 years. But when the later Assyrian king created the Second Empire around 900 BC, they made grand new cities or enlarged old ones to celebrate their achievements. Excavations at these cities have revealed many amazing finds, some of which are shown here. Capital cities. Ashur-Nazirpal II, who ruled Ashur from 883 to 859 BC, was one of the great kings who built the new Assyrian Empire. He had magnificent new palaces and temples built on the east bank of the river Tigris. At Kalu, now called Nimrud, when the building was finished, Ashur-Nazirpal moved there with all his staff. Moving on. In 717 BC, Sargon II founded his own new city at a place now called Khorosbad, and then Sennacherib, who was king from 704 to 681 BC, enlarged Nineveh, making it his most important city. King of the universe. The king had supreme power in Assyria. His subjects addressed him as king of the universe. The name Ashur-Nazirpal means the god of Ashur is protector of the air. The Assyrian kings all took names like this to show that they were close to the gods. It was the king's job to build temples and perform religious rituals. Running an empire. Assyrian kings lived in luxury because of the taxes pouring in from around the empire, but they also had to pay for a huge workforce. Officials governed faraway regions, scribes recorded information, and relay runners carried messages between the different parts of the empire. With all the construction work making palaces, temples, and new cities, the top craftsmen also came from all around the empire to work for the kings. The Assyrian kings were great warriors and led their armies onto the battlefield. But they also knew how to enjoy themselves. Several of the kings had zoos of exotic animals. They also hunted lions to prove their skills and bravery. Carvings in the royal palace at Nineveh show this and also depict the king relaxing in the beautiful gardens. The empire crumbles. In the end, however, the cruelty of the Assyrian kings united their enemies against them. The Babylonians made an alliance with the Medes from Persia, and in 1612 BC the joint force attacked the Assyrian city of Nineveh and completely destroyed it. Although many Assyrians fled from the ruins, they were finally defeated by the Babylonians in 609 BC. The magnificent empire, with all its wealth, finery, and power, had finally come to an end.